Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Alien versus Predator Galaxy podcast, the original Alien and Predator podcast. This is Aaron Percival, aka Corporal Hicks, and joining me are my fellow mutants, is it called the X gene? Is that what it's called in X-Men for the mutants?
Mutant gene.
Fellow mutant gene carriers is my regular partners.
Adam Zeller, aka RidgeTop.
Eric Adams, also known as Xenomorphine.
And returning as the Professor X of this episode, the subject matter expert for us on X-Men is Xiggz, making his second podcast appearance on our show. Welcome, Xiggz.
Thank you for having me again. Glad to be back.
We're going to be relying on you for some of this. What did I call it when we were talking off the air? The nuanced knowledge of the X-Men, of this crossover. So we are talking Predator versus Wolverine. Predator gets first billing on this event. I personally don't know a lot about Wolverine, but I really fucking enjoyed this comic. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think, Adam, you said to me this morning, didn't you, that it was a really good run?
Yeah, I really liked it.
So before we dive too far in as well, we'll do a brief little rundown of thoughts on it. I don't know how Xiggz... No, I don't know how Xiggz thinks. I think I read your opinions on the board. I have no idea how Eric thinks, so just assume Eric dislikes all comics. But we'll find out. We'll find out shortly. Is there a synopsis that's...
Eric likes Salvation.
True. And Destroying Angels as well, if I remember rightly. But let's read the brief synopsis for this series. So I'll just read the first one for issue 1. The thrill is the kill. Wolverine has lived one of the longest and most storied lives in comic history. Now witness the untold greatest battles of Logan's life against a predator. One Yautja seeks the greatest prey in existence and finds it in Weapon X. From the blood-ridden snows of the Canadian wilderness to the sword-slinging streets of Madripoor, Wolverine and a Predator break everything in their paths on their way to the ultimate victory or glorious death. I think that's a good fucking summary of this. Perfectly good summary of this. I'm going to pass it over to Xiggz to start us off here on a quick, dirty summary of your thoughts on the series, and then we'll start digging into specifics.
All right. So obviously, I very much liked it. I actually think this was probably one of the best crossovers since Predator versus Batman, which is my favorite, and I think most people's favorites. Like the synopsis said, going over just basically 100-some years of Predator versus Wolverine. I'll go over the artists. Obviously written by Benjamin Percy. The present day, which was shown like a little bit of pieces in all 4 issues, was Ken Lashley. In the first issue, it took place in about 1900 in the Alaskan wilderness. That was drawn by Greg Land, or traced. In issue 2, we had Team X, which probably took place about the 80s, and that was done by Andrea DeVito. Then we had the Weapon X, that was drawn by Hayden Sherman. Then we had the Muramasa era, and that was drawn by Kei Zama. And then we had the Westchester era, which was done by Gavin Goudry. So hopefully I got all those names right. But overall, I felt like there was a good combination of lore from both the Predator. We saw stuff from Prey, Predator 1, Predator 2, even the Predator. And there's tons of Wolverine lore on top of that. So I thought just the use of the lores from both franchises was done really well.
Okay, Eric, how about you? What did you think of this one?
because it has Greg Land in it, I don't know how much to actually praise the originality of the art. Because we
To be fair,
talked about
you
that
can
before.
slag off his specific segment of art and
Right. Yeah,
appreciate
I don't know what he contributed where and how original it was. How I liked the artwork. I really liked how it was bringing in different things from all the, even with Prey with the skull mask at one point. The story itself didn't wow me, but I thought it was okay. It was a fun little comic. It had a kind of semi-cinematic tone, which always suits Alien and Predator the best. I also liked how they went for the kind of like the other extreme where they brought in the comic X-Men costumes and stuff as opposed to, you know, the movie type stuff. And I liked how they made it like a historical thing because that suits Wolverine and Predator. As soon as you get that, you go, yeah, okay, that works. That I'm seeing how that's going to do. Wasn't what it could have been in my view, but it was, yeah, it was a fun little read. I didn't have any major things. There are some little plot holes like Logan keeps calling them the Yautja, and I think, how does he know
Don't
to
worry,
call
I
them
have a
that?
note
And
on that. I have a
yeah,
note for
okay.
that fucker.
Right. I mean, you and me aren't fans of that word anyway, but you know, little things like that, and the ending was a bit weird to me, but yeah, didn't have any problem with it. It's fun little time killer. It just wasn't like, wow, I love this thing. I didn't have that effect. So
Eric being typically British there. Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought it was quite good. I was really curious about this being the first crossover that Marvel's done. You know, they had all those teases when they initially got the license from Dark Horse with the crossovers that were just variant covers for the hero comics. You know, and they had all sorts. But I think it's very fitting that Wolverine was the first. I mean, we've had a Wolverine versus Predator fan film before. Like this has kind of been in the fan awareness for a bit, I guess. So,
With Kevin Peter Hall's nephew in
yeah,
the costume, if I
I
remember
believe
rightly.
that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
So for a first crossover under Marvel, I thought it was great. I think the story was quite interesting. How it spanned a long period of Logan's life. It touched on, like you were saying, Ziggs, a lot of aspects of both Predator and X-Men lore, I guess. There's some really cool uses of Predator technology, like also you said stuff from Prey that's put to interesting new use as well. And yeah, it was just really entertaining. As far as Greg Land goes, I didn't despise it as much as I suspected. I mean, honestly, if I didn't know his history, I wouldn't have that much of a problem with it. Um, because I believe this is the first interior artwork he's done on the franchises. I think all the controversy came from the
cover.
covers, and there were a few panels like the people have pointed out. The Orca one, of course, as being a little silly. And when the Predator takes off his helmet, that one kind of, I was like, I know that Predator face from somewhere. Like I'm thinking maybe it's the Hot Toys one or something. But
No,
other than
it's the one I love.
the new one, the Mezco one.
Yes, that's it.
Okay. I thought that.
I saw it. I was like, this looks weird to me, and I think it was Lucy on the board was like, how do you not recognize this given how much you've been obsessed with the figure? I'm like, yeah, but I keep the mask on. I don't have it with the head with the mask off. So I
But
didn't recognize it that strongly, but it looked weird and
yeah,
familiar.
it wasn't. Thankfully, it was only in the first issue, and that was another interesting aspect of this comic, right? For all these different time periods, you had different artists, and we've seen that before in the comics, but I think it's done in a really good way here, where the styles aren't that drastically different, but they are noticeably different, and you still get to see some of the same things in a completely different style, which is always interesting to see. But yeah, if you give me a choice between Land and LaRocca, I think LaRocca's was a bit more blatantly egregious, personally. But overall, I just thought the comic was really solid. Wasn't perfect. I agree there were some odd bits. I also thought the ending was a little odd. There was a bit at the end of the third issue I thought was a little odd. But overall, there's way more to like here than to dislike. So definitely recommend it.
I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a solid 8 out of 10, maybe. I especially liked the anthology kind of nature of it in some ways. You know, one of the things that we've seen a rise of complaints of since Prey really is the lack of predators surviving an encounter, you know, and that's because with all the films, with all the comics, we tend to get those exceptional humans, shall we say, that best the predators. So you don't get to see a recurring predator. Personally, I think that would work better in like a story like Monarch, where it's told about OWLF tracking predators, but that's besides the point. But you kind of get it here. You know, it's a series of encounters between two long-living characters besting each other, and it gives you this predator that evolves or grows over the course of what's it, about 200 years? 19
Like
no
100,
1800s.
120. Started in
So
1900.
okay, so you know, over 100 years, and I liked that. I liked having this chance to revisit the same predator character. My knowledge of Wolverine is only really through the Fox films. I saw X-Men Evolutions in as a teen, you know, when I think that was about when X-Men 2 was coming out. So yeah, I only really know Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine. So how well what Benjamin Percy does with the Wolverine history, how well that meshes with Wolverine's lore and background, I don't know very well. I'm hoping Xiggz will tell us as we go along and talk about the specific time frames that the Wolverine stories are set in. But based on what I knew, you know, that casual pop culture kind of knowledge of Wolverine, I was quite impressed with how well it seemed to gel with what I knew from pop culture. I love the artwork being different artists for each different time periods. Again, it contributes towards that anthology feel. Adam mentioned, you know, we'd seen something similar in the past, and I think the only thing that's really done it was Alien
Havoc.
Thank you, where it's sort of when this spirit inhabits a different body, the art style changes. So it's sort of using the art style to differ perspectives. Whereas in this one, it's, you know, different time periods. I'm curious to know, again, I'll be leaning on you for this later, Xiggz. I'm curious to know how well those art styles jive with that time period, if that's the thing. Land wasn't terrible, but it was still, I think, the worst of the art across the entire runs. I didn't like the Westchester art style. Now, not saying it was bad. I just didn't like the style. I think Lands was objectively worse. Objectively, you know, some of the Predator just it didn't look right. The Orca panel, of course, looks quite obviously traced with the perspective stuff going off and how well the Predator fits into that panel. But overall, visually, yeah, damn strong series, especially with Ken Lashley doing the present day artwork. I thought his stuff looked fantastic. So you had what did it say? Was it Ken or Len? Ken, sorry. So you had Ken sort of opening it with this really strong style and bookending the series with this really strong style as well. So that was a very good editorial choice of artist for the series. So yeah, really enjoyed it. A few niggles. Yautja, as we've already established, and I'm sure we'll talk about later, because that one always pissed me off, but it always pisses me off more in context.
And did you
That's
notice the the choice of Predator's victims, like who's going after herbivores, whereas typically we have a predator, it takes on like carnivorous
Well,
things and that.
with what was it? Was it deer that we saw him going after in the Canadian
In
setting?
this you saw him
Yeah,
go after
elk.
yeah, and also a ram. And
I
like,
mean,
because when it went to the cougar and the orca, I thought, okay, maybe it saw them indulging like they're hunting other animals, but when it's a ram or an elk, I was thinking, would a
that could
predator
have been
really
for
do that?
food.
Food or a trophy because it
Maybe.
has the antlers. So I think it went elk. It was going for bigger trophies. So elk horns, then ram horns, then cougar, then orca, then it went to the native population. So I don't know. I felt like that was the logical steps, kind of like
It
prey.
was, yeah, it was very much, I think, a mirroring of the stepping up that we saw in Prey. But I'm sure we've
Yeah,
also
I'm sure it was
seen.
prey, yeah.
I'm sure we've also seen predators go after deer in the one where he fought a bear. Was it Primal? I'm sure we've seen that sort of stuff take place. You know that.
Maybe he considers the antlers a weapon, so that it's arms.
Well, they are, aren't they? You don't want to be run out by antlers.
It would have been neat if we did see it use it, but they never really come up again. You just see it use them as a trophy.
Well, no,
But that
I mean
would have been an interesting idea.
Well, the whole point, isn't it, that again, it's the Predator and Logan growing and gaining experience at the same time. So at that point, the Predator, I don't think he's got a nickname properly yet. Somebody did ask Percy on Twitter, but I never saw a reply to it. But yeah, the idea is they're growing together, so it's experience. So this is that Predator coming to Earth, figuring out what's worthy of, of the trophy wall and the time and stuff like that.
Also, you know me, I always like to see the shuriken, and I just thought that was such a cool shot with the deer just looking, and then the shuriken dices its antler off before it goes around again and kills it.
I really did like all the different calls to all the different elements of the Predator franchise. I think Benjamin Percy and the artists did a fantastic job of really spreading the love across everything, apart from the Predator, but that's fine.
As soon as
we don't need them love to
those
Predator.
laser trip mine things, but they're kind of flying, I thought, oh, Adam's going to love that. That's a Requiem callback.
I mean, it was kind of weird how it did turn them into flying drones that just blasted giant lasers. But yeah, it's a cool design. I mean, we saw those in AVP 2010 as well. But I really like seeing the shield again for the second time since Prey.
Oh,
And
yes.
one of them throws it like Captain America style too. And I was like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
that's kind of interesting.
And Xiggz, any thoughts on the on all the callbacks to the various bits?
Well, the comic starts with how every Wolverine comic starts with the quote, "They say I'm the best there is." So that was an instant call to all Wolverine comics. Yeah, like we said, there's already the Prey. I actually thought those little landmines weren't those used in Prey as well? Those triangular mines?
Not that particular one, I don't think. Wasn't it some other kind of mine in Prey?
Yeah, they're like little balls or something.
Yeah, they were like little flying disc
mechanical
things.
trap things.
That's right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah, little drone things. Also, the Predator in issue 4 starts using like missiles. I thought that was a little off.
Yeah,
But
the wrist rocket.
that's one of my minor niggles, I guess. But and then the Predator uses the AVPR acid.
Oh yeah.
I really
It
liked
wasn't
that.
because it wasn't blue stuff. It was
No,
green. So
it wasn't exactly the same.
No, it was implying it was actual acid or something. Yeah, I thought it was interesting using that as a killing device.
Functionally, it was kind of the same. And I mean, to be fair, we did see Wolf kind of use it as a weapon, didn't he? Isn't it like a bit in AVPR where he shoves it down an alien's throat in the middle of a
improvises.
fight?
Yeah, but I liked it on here because it killed a human, and it showed you it not only killed the human, but it let him take the skull clean off. It was already cleaned, basically, which in itself it should have eaten through the bone as well, but it didn't. It just went through flesh. It was a nice device to give Predator.
And it functioned a little differently to the blue goo anyway, didn't it? Because the blue goo was just broke everything down. So obviously it has to be a little bit different to, again, keep that trophy, keep the skull at the end of it. But yeah, it was a nice little similarity that was a great callback to AVPR. Yeah, I totally thought Adam would be jazzed over that one as well.
And then there was the ship taken out of F-16 that gave me the Predator vibes.
Okay, maybe there was the Predator there then. Yes, that's a fair point.
Some more Wolverine callbacks. So obviously in the first issue, we had a callback to when he killed his dad. We've seen that in the origin comic as well as the origin film. Then we have a couple of your favorite quotes from the movies. We have "Come and get it, you ugly motherfucker," and "Dug in like an Alabama tick."
That's the one that really stuck out to me. But I was like, you know what? This felt relatively natural as a flow. You know, it's a very obviously a specific Predator reference, but in context of what was taking place, I was like, okay, I'll give you that one, Benjamin.
It suited Wolverine's mannerisms. You could imagine he would say that. It totally suited his voice. So I was willing to forget, even though I knew it was just them. I was waiting for them to do a get to the chopper moment, but they didn't. They used that.
They didn't.
That was, yeah, I'm
so glad. That I think is one of the worst overused quotes from Predator.
And obviously Team X was almost exactly like the synopsis of Predator 1, just the original Predator, just a special op teams going to South America. When in the comics go ahead.
I was going to say, you know what I thought they were going to do because as soon as Sabretooth, he had a minigun, and I thought, oh, are they going to make it that in the Wolverine verse, this is what happened in the first Predator film? They're going to replicate. It's like that happened instead of the film that we know. And I thought, interesting. But then they changed it. But I'm sure they were aiming for that because of the minigun. I'm pretty sure it was. I don't know if originally they were going to do that, but it felt like, are we going there? Okay.
All painless.
Can I ask, because you've got familiarity with it, there was I think she was called Jackson. She had like a ninja mask thing. Is she a known character?
No, she's a throwaway.
Just made up for this.
Yeah, so the main Team X always consists of Wolverine, Maverick, and Sabretooth, with the Professor Thornton kind of overseeing them. And then it's just generally random other mutants that are
There's one called Crawl with a K.
Yeah, he's a nobody.
Just an NPC. Yeah.
So were they made up for this series then? Or are they existing characters?
I've never seen them before. I've never seen them.
I'm sure if they were killed in this, they were probably just made for this series.
Did Sabretooth get killed in this?
No.
Okay.
No, they said, oh, he's down, he's taken one of them with him. But I mean, obviously, he wasn't killed.
There's a panel after they blow up the temple that shows Sabretooth, Maverick, and Wolverine all walking back to the chopper.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that.
They said, oh, he's taken one of them with him, but it was clearly it was not killed.
Well,
there's some
is that
weirdness.
The panel when you see the dictator sort of in the foreground?
Yeah, the general.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the general's kind of hiding.
Oh yeah, there it is.
There is some weirdness in the series where you think, why did that? Like in Wolverine's youth, and he has that first face off with a Predator, he gets impaled by the spear, and then in the next panel, he's just staggering out of there, and you're thinking the Predator should still have a hold of that spear, but they've parted on good terms almost. So there's some.
Well, he makes a comment that they're both pretty injured and they have to both heal in their own way, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, but it's just he just stabbed him and he was holding it, and then the next panel is he's just staggering out.
Well, because I think Wolverine stabbed him in the neck. Stabbed him in the neck, so he's like having to take his face mask off and then do the medicine.
Yeah,
thing.
Okay. Didn't notice that one.
I did like how much they did beat the crap out of each other across the entire run, especially that first encounter. You know, when the blades went through the neck, I was like, ouch. That's a good opening salvo. But for them both to keep going as well, you know, I think that was a nice thing across the entire run, was how well Benjamin Percy treated both of them. I never ever felt like one was being shown as far superior and far smarter than the other, or
That
tougher.
has always been the thing with when you get fan reaction of who should the Predator alien go up against? And sometimes Wolverine's been mentioned, and you get people saying, "Oh no, Wolverine would just heal in a second." What I liked about this was that Wolverine needed time for the healing factor to start kicking in.
Except maybe at the end.
And because of that, because of that, you did get a sense of tension that he's not invulnerable, which is what I was fearing would happen through this. Like he'd just get almost clearly he should die, but he just heals instantaneously. That's not what happens here. So you do get the sense that there were stakes. The Predator could potentially do away with Wolverine if he got a hold of him, and that really helped to raise the stakes in a way that I wasn't expecting this to. So that's a definite plus in this crossover for me.
Yeah, I think the only way to actually kill Wolverine is to take his head off. That's what stops his.
Kind of happened.
No, his face just got burned off. He didn't get.
No, because the eyes went and it was clear sockets. There was no brain in there, and somehow the flesh withdrew. And he went Terminator mode for a while in there. It was like an endoskeleton.
I assume Xiggz it'd be a case of literally an adamantium sword or something taking his head off. That'd be the only way to do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Although it was real grim with his face being melted away, and it's just this, adamantium covered Terminator-esque skull with the rest of his body. I was like, that is fucking grim, and I love it.
Straight metal.
I really liked how at that point you have Wolverine do the narration, like the little square box, and it says, well, at that point, it saw my skull covered in adamantium, and that's when I became the ultimate trophy. And that really locked in logic-wise for Predator lore, because you would think, yeah, Predator would go, hell yeah, give me that one. I want that one. It's the metal skull. And that was a really nice touch. They used the traits of Wolverine to really bolster the versus aspect of this story in that one panel. It wasn't just for gore. It gave you a reason for a Predator to go, yeah, I want that one. That's my skull.
It's also interesting how Wolverine would kind of muse about the Predator and how the Predator would also grow over time, and saying it became just like initially it was just challenging prey, but it became more personal, more about revenge. Because one of the subsequent times the Predator came back to hunt Wolverine again, he brought other predators with him, and they were all kind of killed as well. And honestly, I kind of liked one of the moments in the comics where this one predator is kind of mortally wounded, and the other predator like comes beside him and puts his hand on him, and then the wounded predator takes his hand with his wrist blades under his chin, like, oh, just finish me off. Which that's always kind of a like, I kind of prefer that handled in a particular way when it comes to predators. I feel like some media has done the whole like, oh, you have dishonored your clan, kill yourself, But I felt like AVPR handled it in this way, whereas if predator falls in battle, like they're shown respect, they're not just like, oh, dishonorable or whatever. So I did really like that moment.
Well, like in Requiem, when you saw Wolf give that kind of, it's a very tactile thing in Requiem. We had it sort of do the thing with a mask and that, yeah.
One of my favorite panels was the panel before that where Maverick just is shooting that predator where he's like coming at, and then you just see like the bullet holes and it's blowing up his mask. Probably favorite panel of the series.
Yeah, that was a cool one. There were some good panels in here for sure.
Yeah, there were a lot of money shots in this, and which looked great. The whole predator killing the other predator thing, it seems to be. Oh yeah, look at that! Look at that, Xiggz. Great panel. I love seeing. Again, it's another thing that sort of talks to the disappointment of there being non-recurring predators, because then you don't get to see the battle on their armor. You don't get to see this progression, this damage, and that's where I like have a thing for the occasional predators that show up with damaged armor or damaged masks and stuff like that. I think it was one of the things I liked about one of the predators in the preserve. I don't think he lasted very long, but you got to see him damaged before he eventually died at the end of the run. But predators killing other predators, it seems to be something Marvel likes to do, because I think you, Adam, had a problem with it in the preserve with when one of them slightly
Yeah.
dies and
And they like with this one, I was like, okay, he's been shot like right across the chest. It probably got his organs. Like this is probably fatal. Like he couldn't probably just be healed. But yeah, in the preserve, I need to reread it. But there was a moment where a predator was like failed to bring her down or whatever, and he just killed himself. Right? He was expected to kill himself. And I think that goes to the pushing too hard towards the space samurai kind of thing that we don't like as much.
Now, I think it also, don't get me wrong, I didn't dislike it in this, because it didn't feel like a dishonorable, you must kill yourself kind of thing. It feels like you are very fucked up.
Yeah.
let me end you, mercy kill you kind of thing. But it's one of those ones where I have a little bit of I wish they'd let them survive more, because then we could have things like Hook from Thicker Than Blood. I'd like to see more predators with injuries. I'd like to see, some, not necessarily bionics, but I want to see a predator who's replaced a slice off hand with a sword or something grim like that, but something that seems very suitable for predator culture, the predator lifestyle. Maybe he can take it off and put on his typing hand for when he's not on preserve. But
Typing hand.
yeah, well, all the predators are
Predator receptionist.
This is them on their holidays. When they're done killing everybody,
Yeah.
they have to go back to a job on Predator World. I was being facetious there, but you know what I mean. So I do kind of wish they'd let some of them be injured and then come back. It might have been a little bit of a missed opportunity in this one to do something similar. Have Logan slice off one of his arms, or have Logan injure its eye, and maybe it rocks up with the Terminator eye, or it just rocks up with a wolf-esque serious injury. It just seems like something that could be exploited a little bit more creatively, visually, maybe more than narratively. But it adds towards the character of the predators in that particular story, or it could. Sorry, should I say? Speaking of also the American setting, I did like it being the pyramid.
Yeah.
Kind
of AVP feel, predators in a
Yeah.
pyramid
Was
again.
anyone else waiting for something happens and the pyramid starts to shift around them? So they didn't do that. But then I was waiting when it was the underwater scene, and Wolverine, he mentions, "Oh, I'm pinned down by a stone as well. There's nothing I can do." And then he starts to saying, "But you're a hunter. You have to know where you are. You have to know what is down here, what breeds." And the next scene is you seeing all this blood, and I thought, "Oh, he can't do anything. The predator's closing in. He's going to attract a shark or a
I
giant
thought it
squid
was
or
going to be a
something."
crocodile or something.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You don't get too many sharks and crocodiles in forest rivers over here.
Because the thing is,
No, not in Canada.
You had that panel with the killer whale, and I thought that was foreshadowing. They were going to have here. It was going to be something. He was going to lure something in with his blood, and you're going to see this great titanic battle between a predator and some sort of, carnivorous animal. And it's just it goes through the blood, and he's not there. So,
yeah, he was using
had-
the blood, I think, to confuse the heat vision. So that he's saying the predator's relying on technology too much, so he's gonna cause the temperature of the water to rise by just bleeding out and then escape. I think that at least that's the vibe I got, but it could have been done slightly better. I agree.
See, I thought the predator was gonna save him there because he's like, "Oh no, we've been fighting this long. I'm not gonna let you die this way. So I'll save you and we'll fight proper."
fist pump.
Although the fake out afterwards with the mud, I enjoyed.
Yeah. What was the
Yeah.
eyeball?
He plucks
Found
his
an
own eye
eyeball
out.
in
He plucks his own eye out because it would heal later.
Was
It
it
Oh,
his
that,
was
eye?
kind
was
of
his
odd, but
own.
Yeah, that was his
yeah.
eye.
Oh, okay.
The panel even has an X with he was missing one eye.
I
I
missed that detail, but I did like the whole, because it
You
did
think
feel
there'd be
like it
other
was going to be
things?
something like Predator, where he goes for
Mm.
the something obvious, and then he emerges out of the mud on the other side. But no, it was Logan then jumping over to the point where mentioning of the mud was completely irrelevant.
Yeah. He made
So-
like
so
a,
you
a
see-
mud sculpture.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And
Xiggz is
the
showing
thing is,
panel.
his entire plan would have collapsed if the Predator had just looked up. But I took my eye out for this.
It's fine. Logan's good. He's resilient. Yeah, it's very obvious that he's missing an eye and all the close-ups after that. Just looking through it again.
But what happens in the X-Men when like Deadpool or Wolverine cuts a body part off? Does that body part sort of regrow into a clone version of them?
It
See?
regrows. Yeah, it regrows.
So
Well,
there's,
how would
there's
that work
another
with the
Wolverine walking
with the
around.
adamantium though? I mean,
Can't
Doesn't
really
have it.
cut that off.
oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, there
So
you go.
in this one, there's another Logan walking around because of all the body parts he keeps on slicing off.
But to be fair, it then is only his eye, I guess. So does that other eye grow into another Wolverine then? Is it?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay.
Ah,
Honestly, all my X-Men knowledge growing up was pretty much the cartoon show.
yeah, the
And-
'90s one. Yeah, that's
and the
on
art-
Disney now.
Yeah, that
which is-
was. Yeah, new season's coming out actually this year.
Really?
Yes.
90s
Oh,
one.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, they're doing a retro one.
continuation. Yeah.
That's right. And the arcade game, which I guess was also on some home consoles at the time. But I never was too into the comics. But I mean, I've seen, I think, all but the last movie, which I heard wasn't very good. So I guess I kind of know the lore a bit. Like his time as a samurai, that was in the movie the Wolverine, right? That was kind of explored there.
And they brought that into this as well, which is interesting.
Well, let's kind of stick narratively here, because then after the southern stuff, Central American, South American stuff, it then took us to Weapon X. So how well does that facility being in ruins and all the scientists being slaughtered, how does that fit in to the Wolverine lore? Does that go in quite nicely?
Pretty much, yeah. The lab gets destroyed. Logan always ventures back there to try to trigger his memories. What I like that they kind of combine though is he has the battle simulation helmet, and they use the Predator helmet to kind of add new battle simulations to that helmet. So that's where they kind of blended the two together quite nicely.
I was wondering what that was about because it wasn't made. You have this reveal of he's made this big mask thing, and I thought, what are they going to do with it? But then you're never, to those of us who aren't aware of it, it didn't mean anything. So what you're saying, if you've got the background of Wolverine awareness, it's a big deal. So yeah, that's
Isn't
interesting.
isn't that a pretty notable cover? The
Yeah.
Wolverine with the
Well, just the Weapon X, because that's where they implant the adamantium skeleton into him, is during that time. And
no,
then they-
sorry, I
then they
mean
program
the
him.
visual of him with the helmet on. Isn't that a well-known visual of
Yeah.
Wolverine?
Yeah, and they use it on issue 1 cover, even though they don't go there in issue 1. But the issue 1 cover, he's kind of he's holding it on his side. Let's see.
Was this one of the variants? Sorry.
No, this is the original, or just the regular. Oh, there it is.
Oh, you mean it hanging off his belt? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
Did anybody get any of the variants?
Adam, I'm assuming.
I haven't gotten the physical copies yet. I just read this all digital on my iPad. I'm kind of, since I liked it as much as I did, I'm tempted to go to my local comic shop and pick up some issues. The artwork is pretty solid on most of them, and the variants, there's some really good ones as well. I was just looking at one by Javier Fernandez, which I think looks really cool for issue 2. So yeah, I mean, if you're just like collecting comics and stuff like that, I definitely think there's some solid cover art here.
Speaking of art as well, I really liked the Weapon X look for the storyline. It did feel very sort of 80s, 90s with this weird effect that they were putting on the white of the pages. So, it looked aged. I thought that was a real cool, just little aside. But there, that was another strong visual style because it did. Was Weapon X an 80s thing, a 90s thing, storyline wise?
Yeah, Weapon X would have followed
So,
right after Team X. So probably in the original comics, Team X was in the 60s doing like political assassinations and stuff. But I would say in this comic, it's more the 80s because present day he's with the X-Men. So I'd assume that's 2020s. So just move everything up 20 years.
So it artistically, that style did seem appropriate for the time setting of, like when they go and do like the 60s Batman and you get the 60s kind of art effect in the DC stuff. I thought that was a nice replication of style here. I did really enjoy that that take on it. Who was that? That was Hayden Sherman, and I suppose the colorist would have had more of a influence there, Alex Guimaraes. So good job on that one. I did sort of question the Predator taking out all these seemingly unarmed scientists, though. That did make me raise an eyebrow. Nobody else bothered by that one?
Well, because they were behind the
Yeah,
door, so I don't
yeah.
even know if he saw him. I thought he was just trying to get through the door to his prey, and he just was a tank.
True. Was he tunnel visioned? But still, I mean, that's one of those. I struggle again with the honor, with the game rules of the game kind of moment when it comes to stuff like that.
I mean, he killed a bunch of scientists in the movie The Predator too. So, I mean, I go with the Pirates of the Caribbean line where it's like those are more like guidelines, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's what we've often
fair.
said on here. Yeah,
And it
I
was
must
still
say that
still a
ever since
military base.
Yeah, that's fair.
I must say, ever since finding out, because people who are just listening to this, for my background, I've got a Calvin and Hobbes style cover variant behind me. Since I found that, I was mildly disappointed that it didn't include one of the issues that was done in this art
I think that would have been a
It's
bit
great.
too different
mean,
from the
But
rest.
look at it; it's fantastic. It
I
did
do
remind
think
me of the there was a Star Trek Doctor Who crossover, and when they went to different periods, they actually replicated the art style for the comics of those periods, which was so nice to see. So seeing that kind of thing taking root here that made me think of that. It's not as stylized as that was, but it's an interesting short creative decision to do that.
It was a little bit more subtle in this particular, timeline, the Weapon X timeline. It was a little bit more subtle, but it was still noticeable. And yeah, that's one of the things I really liked. Anyway, Xiggz, I believe you're going to say something before everybody interrupted you.
I already forgot. Lost my train of thought.
Sorry, man.
But we also saw the kind of a P2 style ship as he's taking Wolverine away.
With the very P2 interior, although it mixed a little bit of the Predator cockpit in there as well.
Yes.
But it did sort of blend it in with the fog. You had the fog on the floor of that cockpit, and you had a little bit of like the sort of Aztec-y detailing on the wall. I thought that worked really well, and I did get a huge kick out of seeing that because I genuinely think we don't see enough of that P2 style interior in
Didn't it
the media
also
full
have
stop.
a hint of the false shield around it as well? I thought from Predators, not Predators, the Predator.
That might have just been an artistic choice of
Yeah,
leaving
it looked
atmosphere.
like it had a force field thing around it. I thought that was another callback to
Potentially, I didn't really notice that. I was sort of like on it being the NECA Cine Machines exterior though.
with the cockpit of the Predator, the Ark
Yeah.
ship.
But I don't like NECA's interpretation of the exterior. I was kind of in my mind that interior is the AVP2 game exterior. I can't picture that any
Yeah.
other way.
AVP2
So,
had a good interpretation of that ship for sure.
but what about you guys? How do you feel about that representation in the comic?
There's a Rancor skull on the trophy wall.
I was wondering if there was any call outs in there. I didn't
Yeah, I
immediately
wasn't
recognize anything.
sure if it was or it was just something that looked like it. I don't know.
I was
I
hoping
wasn't
they'd have an
sure if it
alien
was-
skull. I'm like,
I
come on,
was too.
guys.
I was too. Yeah.
You're in the Predator ship here from P2. It's like we're all hoping the AVP comics come this year. So at least I am. But yeah, it was kind of weird to have the mashup of like the exterior of the ship was very much AVP2 and the interior was too, but then the cockpit was straight from the Predator. And again, it's the same issue I had with AVP Thicker Than Blood. As much as I love that comic, I was a bit disappointed they just ripped the ship design from the Predator. I'm like, give us some original ships like they did in the old comic days. Like they could do it before. It's not impossible. So
I
Yeah,
didn't. I
I'm a
really
fan of
didn't
the
mind
tribal
him.
look.
But that's what I'm saying. I didn't mind it because I thought they blended the styles quite well at the end of the day. It didn't feel like the Predator's sterile, sort of generic sci-fi silvery looking bullshit with this really unique, biomechanical living element of Predator 2. The artist, who did we decide that one was? Hayden Sherman. I thought Hayden Sherman did a good job of making that feel like a coherent design, a coherent vision, even if we know that was referenced from the Predator. But I mean that's me. That's me. I liked the little bit of Predator character with the Predator slicing Wolverine open. I thought that was particularly sadistic, and I enjoyed it. Well, not necessarily sadistic, but curious.
yeah, because he was unsure what was happening to him there.
Mm.
So yeah, that was an interesting bit with him just having the metallic skull there before it healed, like for a lot of the comics. So it was Wolverine's like inner dialogue throughout this whole comic was good, especially in this part too, where he's like, he found me at my most dangerous when I just did not know what was going on. So yeah, I thought that chapter was really cool. The one bit where he's at Xavier's school, I believe it's the next one. That had, I would say, the closest to a more cartoon-esque art style, but it doesn't quite go there. It still kind of maintains its foot in realism.
It's all
But
costumes. Like all
yeah,
the students' costumes and stuff. It looked very, very kind of 90s comic book style.
Yeah, I think it was kind of intentionally going for that. And that art style is definitely how some of the X-Men comics looked.
yeah, I did like that bit. It was cool to see some of the other mutants come into play here. It was a bit weird how Nightcrawler pulls like the air hoses and it like disables the Predator. I'm like, we've never seen like the Predators do that themselves when they're ready to take off their masks. Like we've never seen it like actually affect them in a negative way. So I was just like, wait, what? But it was interesting how the Predator was just kind of overwhelmed at the end, facing all their powers. Like you see him on the ground with like the surprise look on his face, like after Rose like grabs or Rogue.
Yeah.
That's right. Rogue grabs him. So yeah, that was an interesting
Yeah,
chapter.
it comes back for more again.
Yeah.
It doesn't get to.
Well, maybe it wouldn't have if Wolverine hadn't have lured it back.
Yeah.
I mean, he saw it as an inevitability, so he's like, all right, well, let's make this happen already. But
Well, that was one of the things he kept luring the Predator first with the throwing disc, which that first Predator found just a dead Predator in the ice. So I want to know that Predator story. How did that one get killed?
Yes. It was just like lots of arrows were in it, and it was in the ice. I don't know if it was implied. No, because Wolverine seemed to not recognize it. You'd have thought there would be a moment of recognition if he'd killed it. So I don't know if that was from the locals might have killed it years ago because it was in
Yeah.
ice.
I don't think that was
No.
implied to be Logan at all. That was
No,
just
it's
some other
something.
predator.
Yeah, I think prey style takedown with some natives.
Mm-hmm. So you, just to clarify, Xiggz, I didn't like the Westchester style. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was objectively bad, but from a personal take, I didn't like it.
It was a
So
little jarring.
again, it kind of works with it being a very anthology series in general. But you said stories of this era looked like this, so this was something with a basis in X-Men past.
Yep.
Okay, cool. See, even though I don't like it, I like that they've done that. The art effect of the Weapon X stuff, this Westchester stuff being built on a foundation of a style in the past as well. It shows a level of attention to detail that I do think. I immediately thought that as I was reading it. I was like, this has got to be something to do with what they've done in the past. So even not knowing it intimately, I still got that sense, and it just makes you feel like they're respecting. It's all part of that treating both properties well, which goes again to the Predator 2 shipping tier as far as I'm concerned. So it's this sensation of them respecting the source material throughout. So even if I didn't like it, the actual style, I felt that, and I did like that.
Well, then that leads on to a question that just came to my mind. What do we all think about the creative balance? Because we've all debated, well, not Ziggs, but us three main one. We've all debated comics in the past where we've thought, well, this is clearly way more Alien or way more Predator, or this was way more Judge Dredd than it was like the Alien or Predator did a cameo. Do we all think that in this part it felt like they made an effort to keep it kind of equal parts Wolverine and Predator, or did it feel like the Predator or Wolverine was more of a cameo in the other one's story?
It was
I
pretty.
felt it was more evenly balanced.
I agree with that. Yeah, it felt pretty balanced. Even at the end of the final issue, it was interesting how they had those old school like comic letters where you write to the editor and it would show some of those, and then it would show like the current comics going right now with both Predator, the upcoming one, and Wolverine. So yeah, I felt it was pretty balanced. I mean, this is like still the Predator is in the world of X-Men. This is not really the canonical world of the Predator, which is the case with a lot of crossovers. But it had a lot of cool aspects of Predator lore. So I never felt like the Predator was just making a cameo in an X-Men story. It was very balanced for me.
Any thoughts on that one, Ziggs?
I feel like both franchises were very well respected. I will say I think towards the end the way he defeated the Predator got less interesting. I think I liked the first two the best, with them trapping him with the bear and then leading him into the Mayan temple with all the explosions. Then after that he just kind of hacks his way out of the ship. Then let's see what was next. Then in Japan, all of a sudden all the hand ninjas show up and he just kind of dips out. So I thought that one it could have been handled a little better there.
Yeah, at the end of issue 3, I thought it was weird how it ends on the cliffhanger where his master's like, "Oh, you're my student, but today we fight together." And then at the start of the 4th issue, he's like, "This is your enemy, not mine. I'm just gonna sit down."
Yes,
Like, wait, what happened to like fighting together?
that's
Um,
exactly what I thought. A little contradictory there. Not a good teacher.
We kind of skipped over the samurai bits and pieces. I actually didn't mind the Predator just being like, you know what? Nah. I came here to fight you. I'm not taking out all these guys for you. Feck off. And I like that it becomes a lot more focused. At that point, the Predator is there for Wolverine. He's not there just for kicks, shits and giggles. It's like, look, I've just put this annual leave in. I'm real pissed off with you right now. I'm coming for you. I'm not dealing with that crap. So maybe it is a little. I don't feel like it's anticlimactic, at all. It just feels like an expansion of the lore of these two guys and the story of these two guys. I do think the final fight, yes, I agree with Xiggz, is a little bit at the end of it all, but I did like them just stepping out and it being a little bit of a stalemate. It does add a little bit of variety in how they're dealing with each other. But yeah, I think that first one was definitely best when Logan leads him back to the cave and the predator, the bear just comes out and is like, yoink, I'll have you.
We get another bear fight in this.
Well,
update your video.
We get a good bear panel. I don't think we get a good bear fight because a lot of it's implied off panel, but that's fine.
But it's cool how that comes back later, and because the predator
mask.
loses his mask, yeah, and
Yes.
he constructs a new one from the skull of the bear, which is a really cool looking mask. And again, kind of reminds me of Prey, where you have this bone skull that is converted into a predator mask.
I mean,
Yeah, it
that in
was-
itself was interesting because you had the skull mask, but you had a normal predator face on this one, so we got to see what the combination there looked like, which a lot of people, maybe some podcasts, had an issue with when Prey came out. We wanted it to be a normal predator face. We got that here, so if anyone's curious about those aesthetics, that was this brought it.
Although that also makes it strange when he pulls out the air hoses in a mask like this that is completely open on the bottom. But
yes,
I mean,
I thought
don't
that
know.
too.
I did think it was great internal continuity, with it being that bear's skull. That the predator had kept hold of this for 100 plus years and rocked out with it. Although, to be fair, that debut panel, it's very obviously Prey inspired, but it's fucking awesome. But then it's also very obviously the bear. It's not whatever the Prey masks end up being, because it wasn't a bear, was it? In Prey, it wasn't actually a bear mask. It was something unique and
what was
original.
it meant to be? Oh, so it's some alien skull, was it?
I believe
In
so.
Prey, yeah, it was some otherworldly skull
Yeah.
because this was supposed to be this
okay.
predator's first time on Earth.
So it was a cool, obvious Prey thing, but then it was also a cool internal Predator versus Wolverine thing, and that again, that style. Who was that one? So that would have been Kai Zama. I was like, that looks fucking gorgeous. That splash page
It's a great
of the
planner.
introduction, yeah. This series was just full of gorgeous splashes and gorgeous
You
panels.
got that Xiggz to show the video people what it looked like.
Also, Sarah on our chat made an interesting point, saying strange parallel to Ridley Scott directed film The Duelists, two people dueling on and off for 16 years. I have not seen that film yet. Most recent Scott film I saw was Napoleon, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, the Duelists one I've never got around to either, but it would be very. I plan on watching it, especially with us doing genetic memory now as well. There's
I
definitely
have
be
watched
something.
it. It's very, very, very lengthy and very, very, very period drama-y. So if you
just
get
like-
around
just
to
like
watching
Napoleon.
it prepare for that kind of very long-paced talky film. Here we go.
Look at that. Hang on, straighten it up a bit, Xiggz.
A man with a
There you
beard.
go. That looks fucking. That was a gorgeous panel. Looks
Yeah.
so primal and beastly.
It's because of the brow. It looks
Yeah.
like it's coming for you.
Works so well.
Whereas his proper or her proper mask has like goldfish scales.
Well, that was a hunting grounds mask, wasn't it?
Was it?
That's what I thought.
Well, it was kind of based off that, but the whole scales thing on the forehead was added. I honestly didn't like that.
I'm sure
design
that's a
element,
hunting
but-
grounds pattern.
Well, the mask itself, I don't think those scales were. I'd have to look at it again. But
There's definitely something with that kind of ridge pattern on hunting grounds.
And the scratch came from the grizzly.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 scratches.
So we do get to see a little bit of damage over time.
Oh.
To my point earlier.
honestly, I don't think it was a hunting grounds mask. I'm just looking at a compilation of them all now. Maybe loosely based on one, but I don't see one that looks exactly like that, honestly.
Well, we'll have to find out for the notes after this. I'm certain it was. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Yeah, that looks like a hunting grounds inspired thing." Which again, if it is, that's a nice modern call to something recent. I digged it. And Eric, sorry, just to deviate slightly to your question earlier about did it feel like a Wolverine story with a
Evenly
Predator in?
balanced, or yeah.
Well, I always say Predator is a very versatile creature, a very versatile franchise, and to some extent, it you can take it as like a genre thing. You prop the Predator in a genre, and it works. Like Predator 2's, a bit of a cop mystery kind of thing. It doesn't work terribly well because of how it's structured, and we already know what's happening. But to that extent, I do think you can just drop the Predator in a random franchise or a random genre, and it works. Yes, this is very much a Predator is dropped in the X-Men universe, like Adam said, but I don't think it detracts from the Predator's inclusion in it. And again, that's because there's still a lot of callbacks. Yes, this might not be Los Angeles of the 1990s, but again, to reference the Lost Tribe ship, the aesthetics there. We get the various toys from across the franchise, and with the mask feeling the prey like. Yes, it is Predator in X-Men, but it is Predator, and there's lots of extra elements of the Predator across the entire series that make it feel balanced. It never feels like it's tipping the scale either way, even though it is obviously the X-Men universe. So we talked about the mask, we talked about that. I actually liked the team up in Westchester. Yes, them Kurt, is it Kurt Nightcrawler pulling the hoses is a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Isn't that very Nightcrawlerish? He pulls pranks and things like
Well,
that
no,
with his
I'm
fighting
thinking
style. I
more
don't know.
the effectiveness of him doing that.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
I really liked that bit because it showed a different approach to dealing with the Predator. It is leaning into Wolverine's internal monologue about family and team being a weakness, but then we also, for the first time in the run, we get to see teamwork taking down the Predator. So whether it's Kitty Pryde sort of pulling him down from the phase, or Kurt popping in and doing something, even though maybe that wouldn't have been terribly effective. It was cool to see that, and again, it offered a different way of defeating the Predator. Although the Predator just getting up and walking off, it was a little bit.
Well,
Yeah,
That was a
it's a
little iffy.
very it's a very X-Men thing to do, because that was clearly to show Wolverine growing as a character. I don't need you guys, and then they help out. Oh, maybe you're my family all along. That was a typical X-Men thing to do. I do agree it was weird that they just let it go. It's not that the Predator went, okay, I'm not fighting you guys, but they clearly knew it's got big blades and stuff. They're going to let it go. It's going to do more damage. But I mean, what happened with their enemies typically in the comics? Did they just let them go, or did they try and hold them captive somewhere? Or, I mean, Xiggz would know this. What did the kids at the school typically do if one of the villains came in, and like Magneto?
I
Did
mean,
they just let him go? Or
if it's a mutant, they try to kind of help them out, basically try to
right.
influence them on a better path.
So
Generally,
was this in character, or would they have tried to have held it captive with their powers? Or
I mean, it just seemed like they were working as a team to take him down. You had the one, I think of Danny, who I think is Moon Knight, who kind of does an illusion to look like Wolverine to the Predator. So that's the first distraction. Then
I think
the Nightcrawler pulls the gas, and then Kitty kind of trips him, and then Rogue sucks him with her powers.
Isn't Danny Mirage?
I think Mirage is also. I think Danny has multiple names. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking that would be Mystique because of the shape-shifting thing, but I hadn't heard of Danny before.
Think of Mystique. So what that scene actually did for me, although it's meant to put you in X-Men mode, it made me think, I really want to see a Deadpool Predator
Moonstar.
crossover because you would get kind of humor, but it would be kind of mature rated humor, which might suit Predator more. I don't know, but it made me think, what would Deadpool do in this situation?
I feel like a Deadpool crossover is another inevitability,
Yeah.
especially with all the fourth wall breaking.
Well,
So
especially Ryan Reynolds recently did a photoshopped behind the scenes thing of the new Deadpool, and it had a Predator in it.
no,
so-
wasn't it Danny Trachtenberg who did the Photoshop?
I know, but Ryan Reynolds released it on his Twitter thing, so
Oh,
Or
they're
did,
aware of it.
did Ryan Reynolds do one and then Trachtenberg?
I don't know who was
went after
responsible,
it.
but he put it out there, so I think they are aware there is Deadpool. Although you've got Wolverine in the Deadpool one anyway, so they're aware there is that potential if they do it right.
I feel like that would be one of the, if they were to do a comic, I feel like, you know, they'd be calling out things like the merger and Marvel taking over it for the first time in however many decades it was. I think that one could be a fun one.
Also, I know it probably wouldn't happen, but with Insomniac making the new Wolverine video game right now, I was like, that'd be cool if they had a tie-in like DLC thing where he fights the Predator.
I think that might be a bit niche. How many crossovers has Wolverine been in, Xiggz? Can they fit them all in there?
I couldn't tell you.
Fair. So, should we talk the last? Should we talk the end? The climax?
Yeah.
Would adamantium really survive a nuke?
It has in the comics.
Okay,
Ooh,
fair
Arnold did.
He
No,
survived
Arnold
Hiroshima
ran
in the
away.
comics.
Arnold ran away. Okay,
He
Well,
hid under a
wasn't-
log.
if I remember the film right, isn't he in a bunker though? Or
Dutch, no.
no,
I think in the
not-
film,
no.
but in
I'm
the comics.
talking Wolverine. Yeah. Okay, so in the comics, he's literally in the cloud, so to speak. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, the original Civil War comic also, there's a character Nitro that basically becomes a nuke, and he survives that one too, just down to the adamantium skeleton. As long as I think there's some spinal fluid, he could come back.
There's some DNA.
See, that's where I feel like maybe it was a little disappointing because yes, it feels like that was the inevitable end of it. You know, the Predator setting off the nuke, Wolverine obviously surviving because he always survives. So I think I was a little bit disappointed by that, just because of how predictable I think it was.
Well, I think that would have made sense if it wasn't like that was the Predator's opening move to stab him, and then he's going
Well-
to set off the bomb. He didn't try to take his skull. or
Yeah,
anything.
I mean, it's hard to say that's the opening move though when you've got a whole sequence in that present day.
Kind of. It just felt like Predators usually have more of a fallback situation. It felt what I thought they should have done with this comic. They should have made it like Marvel Zombies, where the Predator does actually kill some characters, and it's like it's its own
Well, it
continuous
does.
self.
You see it. You
yeah,
see him
but
kill a bunch of
yeah,
folk.
but like canon characters that don't normally die. Something like that. So if you bring like a Predator or a Terminator in for a crossover, it has consequences. I mean, it doesn't affect other stories. It's just its own self-enclosed thing. But I think that could have, like the Predator being there, it would have really raised the stakes even more because then it's killing these other characters who normally aren't killable. What happens next? How is Logan going to deal with that? And it could have killed someone close to him, something like that. Whereas what we got is more by the numbers, typical what happens with a cameo.
I see your point, but also, I guess this one's directed at Xiggz. Isn't how well this series meshes with the Wolverine lore a strength of this crossover?
Yeah, I mean, but I also see what Xenomorphine's saying, just to raise the stakes, killing off a known character. So I think it could kind of go either way. But I think, yeah, like you said, they kind of gave it to us with the red shirt mutant characters, Jackson and Cruel.
It is a little tricky with crossover comics because you're going to expect the hero to survive, right? And I know a lot of people gripe of the Predator always being the eventual loser of these mashups. So I do wonder if they could have some other ending scenarios besides just the expected. But it was kind of, yeah, I was like, damn, he survives a nuke. I guess really his healing only kind of declines once he's older, based on what we see in like the films. Um, but yeah, that was I'm like, oh shit. Wasn't really a fair fight all along, was it? Unless the Predator had like adamantium wrist blades or something.
That could
Um,
have been an interesting thing to see, is the Predator actually go and get some adamantium weaponry, or coat his own blades or something like that. But then again, it
Yeah.
veers into that element of it not really fitting with the lore. So
yeah, but then the Predator is an alien species. What if something had happened where it was demonstrated the Predator's wrist blades can go through adamantium? Something like that makes Wolverine go, wait a minute, nothing's meant to do that. Like all of a sudden, I am more vulnerable and then you can just hand wave it away by doing, what's in the film of the Thing, and you have Kurt Russell's character say, it's a fucking alien, it can do what you can have the Predator do something like that, and it doesn't upset the law. You just say, well, it's Predator metal, it can do that. That could have been very interesting, because all of a sudden, a typical strength is no more. That's not a strength going up against a Predator. He's got other traits, but you could have done things with this that they didn't do. But I think as a whole, it's a nice little self-contained adventure, and you do have that. I felt the part where he does go back out into the wilderness also, I felt was kind of semi callback to the original film where Arnold's on his own and you have Dutch, and you have that thing where he does the opera, and he calls the Predator in, kind of thing. It felt like it was semi callbacking to that, where it was you have to find your inner beast to go up against the beast, kind of thing, which was always how the Predator films originally were. And it was nice to have Wolverine do that, because he is the most feral character in the X-Men verse. Well, famously, I'm assuming. I'm guessing there aren't any Mutant Brotherhood ones who are more animalist. No, Sabretooth.
I suppose Sabretooth, yeah.
Sabretooth, yeah.
But I mean,
as a main character,
you make a fair point. He is a feral character, and a lot of that in the monologuing is about not relying on technology, not relying on his his traps and his vices and stuff like that, and it being it kind of goes against the Predator theme of it not necessarily being about strength, but skill and luck and stuff as well. But
yes.
it works. I think it works, because there's this other theme of don't rely on your goods, rely on your skill.
And on top of that, the adamantium skeleton makes Wolverine the ultimate trophy. So I think if the Predator was able to just cut through it, it wouldn't be as ultimate.
Hey, to be fair, that knife survived a nuke, so that's some good
Yeah.
shit they've got there. I did think that was stupid. I was like, really?
But in fairness, in
Or
the
that was an
Predator,
adamantium blade, maybe, because he pulled that out as his sacrificial finisher. The Predator actually
Yeah.
went and got some adamantium.
Yeah, but you remember in the Predator they had some things that had survived, like alien acid, the spear and stuff. No,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the Texas nuke. So there was some Predator stuff that literally survived an actual nuclear explosion. So that's kind of lore.
What are you thinking?
Was that when they went to the where they kept the Predator captive in the base, and you saw some of the
no, it
Predator
was
equipment
Predator.
from Requiem.
Oh, that Texas nuke. No.
Yeah. There was some
I don't
stuff from
think
Requiem.
It was nothing from Requiem, was it?
it's from the first AVP. It was Alexa
the
Wood's
tail.
ceremonial.
Wasn't there also something from Requiem? I thought there was.
I don't believe
it was
from
no.
Requiem. I think it was from
Well,
P1 and then from AVP.
Okay, well, at the end of Requiem, there's stuff because
Yeah, well,
the general
true.
hands it over to
The pistol.
some of
No,
their
but he
stuff's
gets the pistol from the helicopter though, because the characters have it at the end, so they've
Oh,
escaped.
yeah.
What
Wasn't there something else?
a
that
belt
was
buckle? A
Yeah,
belt
it was
buckle,
something
but
like
it
that.
could
Yeah.
it could have been anything
Yeah.
though, that one. But no, that's an interesting thought. But no,
Oh.
I think that's a goof. I think that's a goof completely.
It was kind of funny at the end when Wolverine's like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss him coming after me."
I liked that. I thought that was I was like, yeah, okay. So this has been a constant thing of your life, and it's kind of thrilling in its own way. And now you're going to feel a little bit emptier without that thrill. And again, it speaks to the feral. It speaks to the beast. That primitive part of Wolverine. I really liked that.
Well, I think that is a lot in those kind of comic. I mean, often even like DC comics, you get like the Joker can go way more insane if Batman isn't there because he gets bored. It's that kind of mentality. I think with Wolverine, it speaks a lot more to him because here you've got it that the Predator hasn't just shown up in the city or something. It's been with him through his life, so he has kind of defined his life a bit. Plus, you've got the memories. That's a pattern too. They're re-emerging memories every so often because at one point something happens when he's fighting it and he remembers because of the bear skull, and then he remembers, oh yeah, the bear in the wilderness. So he's getting these little things triggered. But it suits Logan. But at the other point, it'd be nice for once for a character not to do that. They go, will I miss him? No, I'm happier without it because that's how a normal person would think. But Logan isn't a normal person.
Did that knife remind you guys of Prey at all?
The
I thought it was
dagger?
I thought it was an AVP.
Yeah, I think
Sacrament.
it's the
Yeah,
same.
because it was the
line as that.
double-bladed thing. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh yeah, to cut the skull. That's
Mhm.
right.
Speaking just a little bit to Eric's thing there, though, it is a nice contrast against Dutch because Dutch is there with PTSD and what the fuck has happened to me, look on his face, compared to Logan's. I'm gonna miss that guy.
Yeah, he says
I
like,
mean,
I'm gonna feel a
Logan's-
little deader
Yeah,
now. This one's not hunting me.
Yeah, Logan is the kind of the guy who does live off his animal instincts. He wants something to hunt or something hunting him because that's the only time he feels alive. Whereas Dutch just wants to go home. He's bored
Yeah,
of the sun
it's,
and everything.
Oh, my dude's died. I want to go home, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's all my notes for this series. Anybody else got anything they want to specifically bring up?
I think just excuse me, if you like Predator, if you like Wolverine, if you read comics, like this is definitely worth your time. I think it's really well done for Marvel's first crossover, and I'm looking forward to what they do next. What would you guys want for a different crossover with Marvel? I would put this like right with the top tier Dark Horse crossovers, like Batman versus Predator.
Oh yeah, it's
So
maybe not as good as Batman versus Predator, at least the original, but just below. Better than the other, the 2 and 3 and
I liked
Batman.
3 a lot, but
I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed them, but I think this was objectively better than the other ones, but perhaps not quite as good as the original. Then who was the artwork on the original? It was somebody really fucking good, wasn't it? I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody really good. But yeah, it was definitely up there, and I think it makes up for Aliens Aftermath because I really, that one was a bit of a letdown in the end. I think Benjamin Percy makes up for Aftermath with this one. Really solid, really good run that I would very much recommend to X-Men or Predator fans.
so what do you guys think? What's the next Marvel crossover you want to see?
As I say, Deadpool's the obvious one for me. The problem is that so many superheroes, you put a Predator or an Alien against them, you have to be very inventive because they're not really coming up to the level of the typical supervillains they go up. Or you could have a villain meet a Predator or Alien. Like people say, oh, Peter Parker, but Peter Parker typically has to hold back. If Peter Parker properly unleashed, he could kill millions.
You could
So,
you could do more human heroes like Punisher or like
Yeah,
yes,
Punisher would
Punisher
probably
would be
be.
good. In fact, you could do a
Punisher
lot
came
of
to mind.
flashbacks. Yeah, flashbacks with Punisher because he's got military experience.
Yep.
So yeah, it'd be a good one.
I don't think there's maybe Guardians versus Aliens.
Yeah, we that got teased with one of the first covers, and since then my interest has been piqued for that crossover.
That would be a
think
good
it'd
AVP one, I think.
I don't know because I don't think it'll quite mesh tonally. I mean, yeah, setting wise, yeah, but
yeah, I think you could make a dark Guardians of the Galaxy story. There's no reason why you can't take a character who is normally very light-hearted and give a story a darker tone to make them wise up a bit. But typically, yeah, I agree. You wouldn't
maybe something more along the vein of zombies. Where yes, it is a separate universe, it is a separate
That's what I was
continuity.
saying, yeah.
I know, but
So
like
they
I
can
feel
do-
like half the charm with this was yes how well it meshed with Predator, but perhaps a what if a xenomorph, Marvel
What if,
xenomorph kind of thing would be a little bit more interesting than throwing them in another series.
I mean,
I don't know how well
it,
they're all going to mesh like this one did.
You could technically, if you have an alien do it, you could say, well, an alien has already chest bursted from not a main character, but a character from a certain species, which we know has superpowers related to their genetics.
Then you have to be real careful there because then
really
you might go full Kenner, and we don't go full Kenner.
That's it. Or you could have, if you want to, you can do a callback to a certain Predator film because in that they are taking genetic traits to augment themselves. But again, it's such a hard thing to do and keep perspective to keep what makes Alien or Predator.
Xiggz is being attacked by a runner. I don't know if you've seen it. So it's a xenomorph dog hybrid. It's going for him.
But no, that could be how you do it. But otherwise, virtually every superhero or supervillain, they're gonna need a reason why they can't just do away with the alien or Predator. So
then it is going to be a balance, isn't it?
Yeah, it forces the writer to think outside the box. That's a good thing, but it's always a gamble of will they? So, but I think someone like the Punisher or Deadpool, it's logical, and you could do things.
I think even Iron Man, because that was like the first Predator tease, I think that they did, and you could have a Predator just construct a cybernetic suit to go up against Iron Man. So
well, we've already got that, haven't we? But we don't want to. I think the problem is
not Predator killer.
It's not Predator at that point.
You don't want to overly reference the shit entries as well, either. So that's where it's kind of like I don't know.
You can reference them as long as you use what you reference well in the news story.
Yeah, but it is a risk because if you're invoking memories of that shit entry, then
if you do that suit, what does it become? It doesn't become Iron Man versus Predator. It becomes Iron Man versus Terminator, and it's not what you want a Predator story to be, which is about a hunt.
I mean, in some crossovers, we've seen the alien or the Predator take on the powers that are in that universe, like in Batman.
But that was one of the dodgier ones.
Yeah, but I mean, you could do I don't know, you could have a Predator symbiote or something like that, maybe. I don't know. There's interesting ways I think you could go about it.
There are ways and means if you want to do a good story, but it's always a gamble of will it be a good story or will it just be you've taken this other franchise and you just added craziness.
Yeah.
Which in cartoon world, obviously craziness makes them work, but with them, Alien and Predator is grounded in a sense of reality.
But then again, I thought Archie versus Predator was good.
The comics are a place to to go out there a bit more.
True,
a bit more
true.
experimental, I think. Like even the Witchblade
Yeah.
comic, like the female predator was after like the Witchblade power, which I thought was interesting. Those comics are nuts, and we need to review those finally.
They are canon to their universe, aren't they?
I'm not sure.
Oh wait, no, that's
Yeah.
Wildcat. Sorry, that's Wildcat.
Actually, there's another one, Judge Dredd. AVP.
I've been trying to get Aaron
Judge
to
Dredd.
review that one forever. So
Oh,
we'll
that's
see
a
if we
good
get
one.
around to that this year.
Don't
That's a
have the
really good
slots,
one.
but we'll
The
get there.
second
We'll
one,
get there.
anyway.
So Xiggz, take us home. Is this one you would recommend?
I would absolutely recommend it. Like Adam said, this is the first Marvel crossover that we've gotten, and I think they did a great job with it.
Cool. All right, come on then, Adam. Horrors out, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed our podcast, we always appreciate a rating on any platform you are listening or watching on. You can find us on our main hub of activity, avpgalaxy.net, which is our website where we have all sorts of good stuff like the latest updates on what's happening with the franchises, discussion boards where you can engage with other fans, and a lot of resources for you to explore the history of the franchises. Thank you very much, as usual, to our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support what we do here at AVP Galaxy, you can check us out there at patreon.com/AVP Galaxy. And you can also find us on all the major social media channels, Facebook, X, Instagram, and Threads we are currently on.
Indeed. And as of today, we've just posted our last podcast, which is our first
Yeah,
podcast.
I noticed you just threw that up. So Alien, the director's cut. So if you haven't heard it by the time this one goes up, go back and check that one out.
Indeed. And also, we've done a recent video on the Fates of Shore. I'm currently working on a video for The Woman in the Dark, so doing some lore.
Ooh.
And then I've got my next thing planned, which is another deleted scene of Alien thing that I don't want to say and give people ideas to go and rip us off on. But that's going to be that's one I'm looking forward to, actually. And I meant to do it a couple of years ago when we got some extra little bits of lore that extra snippets that we hadn't seen before. So I'm excited to do that. So I've got my next couple planned, guys and girls. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. This has been Corporal Hicks.
RidgeTop.
Xenomorphine.
And Xiggz.
Getting to the chopper? No, we
not
should
getting
have
to
had
the
a Wolverine themed thing here.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Surviving
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
the nuke, I guess.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Regenerating from the nuke blast. Until next time.